Good afternoon. So, I was a few minutes ago. I was recording a video, and what I'm going doing is you can see on the screen there. I have the Irish Freedom Party up. I was recording a video for Ireland First, just going over some of the history of the party and some of the candidates and some of the policies and principles that they stand for. But the site just went out, right? I couldn't connect to it, and interestingly enough, the Irish Freedom Party, their site was down, I think, for a good few days. It was gone a couple of days ago, and I was going to do the same thing, but now it seems to be back up and running. And my purpose in doing this, I'm not trying to push any political party onto you. I'm not a member or affiliated with any political party, either in power or those who are trying to get into power. Um, so I've no skin in the game that way in terms of politics. However, opinions and beliefs might align with some people, right? So I'm not trying to push anything like this on you. What I'm trying to do is explore some of the alternatives to the status quo that we have, right? And obviously, the general election is coming up. That's at the discretion of Simon Harris to call it. So, in the meantime, what I would like to do is just, as I said, explore some of the alternatives that people have out there, because there's a lot of people that aren't on X, which is where a lot of counter status quo conversation is taking place. So I'm going to use the YouTube thing here to just explore some of the different parties and some of the different independents over the next few days or weeks. And the decision then ultimately is your own, to see if what you believe, what you stand for, and what you want to see in terms of Ireland in the future is in line with any of these people or any of these parties, right? So we'll start out with principles, and hopefully this page loads now. There's a slow internet day now, so we'll get there, right? So before you vote, obviously you want to know what people stand for, what is it they represent, and obviously you're kind of there's an element of faith there involved in all decisions, but particularly when you're making a decision based on somebody else's words, right? So we're just going to read through this. The Irish Freedom Party, what we represent. It says Irish Freedom is a national movement of the Irish people and a political party with the primary objective of re-establishing the national independence and sovereignty of Ireland and restoring its national democracy by leaving the European Union. So, re-establishing independence, thereby taking back control by the Irish people of our lawmaking, our citizenship, our currency, our trade policy, our borders and immigration policy, our taxation and budget policy, our sea fisheries and marine resources, our human rights under the Irish Supreme Court, our foreign and security policy, and maintaining a meaningful military neutrality. What they support. The Irish Freedom Party supports all democratic endeavours to achieve the consent of the voters of Northern Ireland for a reunited and independent Ireland under the control of the Irish people and not that of either London or Brussels. To prevent partition. Our exit is necessary to prevent, that's Ireland leaving the EU, is necessary to prevent a second partition of Ireland being implemented by the addition of new EU dimensions to the north-south border and the consequent creation of major new obstacles in the way of securing consent to future Irish reunification. Right. So on immigration, we believe the Irish Freedom Party believes immigration should be controlled effectively to suit the interests of the ordinary Irish people. While we are EU members, we are subject to free movement rules, which means we have an open border with over 500 million EU citizens, their families, and their dependents. By regaining control of our borders, we will be able to plan a better Ireland that can provide affordable and sustainable housing for all. Irish culture. The Irish Freedom Party will support all efforts to strengthen the Irishness of Ireland, in particular its language, its distinctive cultural and historical traditions. Our nation and its freedom will only develop if our culture is strong. Culture is not something you go and see, but primarily how you live your life and celebrate and describe that life. Just as the Celtic revival of the late 19th century preceded and gave strength to those who fought for freedom in 1916 and the War of Independence, we will only be independent and self-governing when we want, indeed need, to give expression to who we are as a people. Yes, a people, a demos, a proud and ancient nation. To that end, the Irish Freedom Party rejects the cultural self-hatred, oikophobia they call it, so widespread among some in our country. We have much to celebrate in Ireland. Our language, our dance, our music, our games, our poets, writers and artists are known and respected throughout the world, but it's even more important that they are known and respected in Ireland itself. Our culture will become stronger when we as a people realise its beauty, its uniqueness and power to move us. The Irish diaspora. The Irish Freedom Party hold that Ireland is our home, not an economic hostel, and that the Irish diaspora have a special part to play in rebuilding up our country again. There is an Irish diaspora of approximately 60 million people around the world who claim Irish parentage and heritage. Many of these people are extremely talented and have a love and strong sense of goodwill towards their homeland. The Irish Freedom Party believe our diaspora should be given first preference to return to live and work in Ireland. While Ireland is a member of the EU, 500 million EU citizens have an untrammelled right to move to and reside in Ireland. Only by leaving the EU can we take back control of who comes to reside in Ireland. At the moment, non-EU Irish diaspora meet massive discrimination if they desire to come to live in Ireland. The Second Gaelic Revival. Right, so that's a poem. Right, so we get into their policies, right? Load. And again, look, you can go on and have a look at this yourself, irishfreedomparty.ie. So click here to view the party's full policy documents. So they're obviously fleshing these things out, right? So these are, I suppose, overviews or briefs. So number one, improving the health service. We have a crumbling and inadequate health service in need of radical reform. We have over 1 million people on hospital waiting lists with a rapidly increasing population. People are living longer than ever before, and we are failing to keep many of our best nurses. For example, there's been a 40% increase in Irish doctors working in Australia since 2013. We have the lowest amount of consultant specialists in Europe, with 1.44 per 1,000 people. The European average is 2.45 per 1,000 people. We are committed to delivering on entrance level consultant pay to keep our medical professionals in Ireland. We are committed to the pledges below to improve our health services. They are: number one, retention of Irish nurses and consultants through negotiating an attractive salary package at entry level and career progression. Number two, national health awareness campaigns and healthy living programs rolled out across the country. Number three, major investment in home and social care to free up hospital beds. Number four, huge recruitment campaign for frontline staff in health service. Number five, we will support substantial investment in mental health. Number six, we will tackle spending inefficiency in the health service and reduce bureaucracy. Climate policy. They say no to carbon taxes. The Irish Freedom Party accepts that climate change is real and has been taking place for millennia. It will continue to change and evolve over time. As a party, we are climate realists and reject the hysteria of many of the other parties in relation to this issue. We are opposed to the carbon tax as there is no international evidence that it works in reducing carbon emissions. It punishes ordinary people for everyday activities such as driving a car or heating their homes. It is an unjust and cruel tax. It disproportionately hits people in rural areas and workers in the haulage industry. We believe it is better to use education to encourage people into activity that is climate friendly. The political establishment wants to increase the carbon tax to €1,500 per year by 2030. If our candidates are elected, we will oppose these measures and protect the people of Ireland from further taxes and climate alarmism. We are the only party who have consistently opposed the carbon tax and the climate agenda. A fairer tax system. The Irish Freedom Party are the party of lower taxes. We are committed to lowering the tax burden of hard-working individuals and family. The OECD has reported that Ireland has the second most progressive tax system among its 36 members. That basically means middle to higher earners pay disproportionately more in income tax than nearly every other developed country. Middle income earners paid a higher rate of tax of 40% at 35,300 and above. This is too early this is too early, and we are committed to increasing the threshold of €50,000, which will allow middle income earners to keep more of their hard earned money. The Department of Finance's Tax Strategy Group has reported the current arrangements have a negative impact on the competitiveness of the Irish tax regime. They've also reported that such a move would cost €2.2 billion if implemented in a single year. The Irish Freedom Party want to deliver this over 3 years. We will deliver savings in other areas to fund the cost of these cuts. For example, we will substantially reduce the annual funding of around €5.5 billion on the NGO sector. Many of these NGOs are not essential and will be required to access private funding. We will take workers on the minimum wage out of the USC net. Ireland has also the third highest rate of low pay in the OECD. We believe one of the reasons for low pay is mass immigration, which suppresses wages. By turning off the constant flow of cheap labour, employers will be forced to pay and invest in the pool of workers they have already. Since 2004, 60% of new jobs have gone to non-nationals. This is a situation that is unacceptable, as many Irish workers face unfair competition and lower wages. The Irish Freedom Party's long-term plan will put an end to this with a new skills-based immigration system that works for the people of Ireland. For the self-employed, we are committed to increasing the tax relief on capital gains tax for entrepreneurs when they sell up. Tackling serious crime. Ireland is in the grip of a violent crime wave that has some communities living in fear. Under the political establishment, drug gangs are terrorising areas of the country and carrying out some of the most barbaric violent crimes the country has ever witnessed. The Irish Freedom Party views this crime wave as a national emergency and will take appropriate action. Many of our Gardaí are ill-equipped to deal with this particular type of crime and need to be supported. Much tougher sentencing for drug dealing offences will be a priority, and we will also invest in education at secondary school level. This will educate and deter our young people from getting involved in the drugs trade. We will expand the Irish Naval Service who patrol our waters to detect drug smuggling. The Irish Freedom Party want to double the budget of the Criminal Assets Bureau to €16 million to equip them with the resources needed to fight organised crime. Reported sexual offences in Ireland are up a startling 55% since 2015. It is an alarming statistic, and the Irish Freedom Party will press for a committee to be established to investigate the reasons why, with a view to taking measures to combat this type of crime. More than 50 state-owned Garda stations have been closed across rural Ireland since 2012. We will reopen many of these stations to service and give security to many isolated rural areas. Our party values community policing and believe it acts as a deterrent to crime. Recent figures show that 45% of criminals released from prison have been convicted of new offences within 3 years. We are committed to reform to deal with repeat offenders. A system of enhanced sentencing will bring longer sentences to repeat offenders and make our community safer for the people of Ireland. Our steps to combat serious crime. 1. Expand the Naval Service to detect drug smuggling in our seas. 2. Invest more in education on drugs and counselling. 3. Reopen many Garda stations in rural areas. 4. Tougher sentencing on repeat offenders. 5. Double the CAB budget to seize criminal assets. And 6. Increase the size of the emergency response unit. Solving the housing and homeless problem. Ireland is in the middle of a housing and homeless crisis. The open borders policies of the establishment parties have exacerbated the problems. Ireland's population has grown to its highest point in 170 years, nearing 5 million people. That is a huge increase of 1.5 million since 1995. We have over 10,000 listed as homeless, but the figure is likely to be much higher in reality. When it comes to the allocation of social housing, the Irish Freedom Party will prioritise Irish nationals. We will bring an end to the policy of a two-list system where newly arrived non-nationals are provided housing over the Irish people who have been on the list for years. The Irish Freedom Party take the view that Ireland cannot house the world and that Irish people must get preference. Thousands of social houses around Ireland are uninhabitable or classed as void. We want substantial funds invested in making these houses fit for habitation and purpose. Other commitments include 1. Incentivising the conversion of existing buildings to housing in towns and villages by doubling the tax relief on construction related costs. We will relax standards in insulation, disability access and open space provision for existing buildings, where achieving new standards can be very difficult to achieve. They will implement a maximum 15% tax rate on first rental property for each individual, and they will streamline the planning system to prioritise speedy decisions in housing applications. Protecting your right to speak your mind. Our most fundamental rights are under attack from the establishment parties in Ireland. Freedom of speech is protected under Article 40.6.1 in the Irish Constitution. It is one of the majestic guarantees in our Constitution. However, the political establishment wants to strip away your rights with erroneous and misguided laws. The disastrous Minister for Justice, Charlie Flanagan, recently launched a public consultation on hate speech with a view to implementing laws that would clamp down on your ability to speak your mind on the issues of the day. He also wants to introduce hate crime legislation, which would have very serious repercussions for our legal and justice system. Hate crime laws mean a two-tiered legal system and undermine the principle of equality before the law. For example, crimes against ordinary members of the public would be treated less serious than crimes against members of a minority group, where hate is perceived to be the motivating factor. The Irish Freedom Party believe in the importance of free speech, or freedom of speech. It is essential in any liberal society in the pursuit of truth and solving the most pressing problems in society. Historically, freedom of speech has been the main tool in correcting historic injustices such as slavery, colonialism, and institutional abuse. If elected, our candidates will oppose any attempts to dilute your freedom to express your opinions and convictions. So, there you go. That's what they have to say. So they have, I don't know, we go into candidates. This is the candidate map. So select the counties highlighted in green below to find candidates running in your local electoral area. So they seem to have candidates in a good chunk of the country. So Sligo, Mayo, Galway, Clare, Tipperary, Offaly, Roscommon. Roscommon's huge, isn't it? Westmeath, Cavan, Monaghan, Louth, Meath, said it already, Dublin, Kildare, Wicklow, Carlow, Wexford, Kilkenny. So they have candidates predominantly throughout the country. So who are these people? So this is for the general election. So Kildare, Dublin South, Galway, Dublin Mid, County Louth, Fingal, Carlow, Dublin Bay. Those are the candidates. So Anthony Casey. And again, look, you have these people have TikTok and Twitter profiles. I believe Anthony also has a YouTube page or profile. And look, any questions or anything you can send on to the email there. So what does he say? My name is Anthony Casey and I live in South Kildare. I run the A. Casey podcast and co-host the Irish Column Show on the Irish Channel. And look, this is all lovely stuff for people that have become disillusioned with what's going on and the status quo, right? So not only have you got alternatives in terms of people running for election, but now to combat, I suppose, the mainstream media, if that is what you want, you now have people who are individually setting up podcasts, I suppose, to give a counter perspective on things, right? So Anthony says, I've worked in many industrial sectors, including construction, transport, fitness and the public service. I'm a proud Irishman and a great-grandson of Irish freedom fighter Leo Casey, who fought alongside De Valera in the Rising and the Irish War of Independence. As a father of 3 young children, I'm very in tune with ever-changing Irish current affairs. So, Anthony's pledges for your area are to protect and secure the community district from impending threats by becoming an accessible liaison between local people and their Garda station. To designate more areas for local authority affordable purchase developments to provide more affordable housing opportunities for first-time buyers. Deny planning applications for majority non-Irish corporate investment and known vulture funds. To advocate for property developments that can facilitate enough health, special needs, end-of-life services locally. to support and promote local community activities, events and produce to keep our culture alive, to establish an open communication policy for the people of the community to have their concerns and ideas heard, to put the people's needs first. Right, so that's a bit on the Irish Freedom Party, and again, it is the irishfreedomparty.ie. So if any of that tickles your fancy, then go and have a look at it yourself. I will have a look at Ireland First, the website, in a while and see if it's back up and running. If it is, then I'll dip into that and have a little look at that. But this is one alternative as a party, and then you have plenty of individuals that are running their own respective campaigns under the banner of the Irish Freedom Party. So go have a look, and do not yield to the impending feeling of, or the feeling of impending doom and helplessness, right? There's always something you can do. There's always a choice to be made, and the more information and the wider and deeper our well of knowledge is, the better informed decisions we can make, particularly in these lunatic times, right? So go have a look and get familiar with what all of these candidates are speaking about and what they're saying they're running on, right? And that doesn't mean put blind faith in them. It just means you will be giving them their vote based on what they're saying, and then you will be holding their feet to the fire if and when they get elected to adhere to the principles and policies that they ran on, right? So good stuff. Get prepared, because that election could be called at any time. Have a good day.